back. We're here with the final part of our fabric series brought to you by Minerva Crafts. And so far we have done an intro to fabric terminology.
Yes.
We have covered cottons, we've covered silks, we've covered wools, we've done synthetics, and now this one is all about knit fabrics.
Yes.
And I'm sure you'll all be very interested to know, because I think knit fabric is one of those that people are most confused about.
Yes.
They're quite scared of ordering knits off the internet because they don't really know kind of what makes one different from another. So that's what we're hopefully going to explain to you today. But whereas before what we've done is we've just taken the category and we've gone through it in terms of light to heavy fabrics. Knits is a little bit more complicated because it's better that we show you how to identify a knit fabric than just give you examples of it.
Yes.
So what we're going to talk about first of all is two terms, single or double knits. So most knit fabrics will be described as either single or double. And it simply means that when you knit, if you've ever done any knitting, you will notice that on the front of the fabric you have all your knits, and on the back of your fabric you have all your pearls. Yeah. What that does is it creates tiny little ridges on the front of the fabric, and then on the back you can see these tiny little horizontal loops. So I'm going to see if I can demonstrate that with one of these fabrics here. So I'm going to hold it up to the camera. And on that side, we've got horizontal ribs. They're very fine, but you can just make them out there. If I turn it over on the back, you can see that there are no ribs.
It's much more fluffy, isn't it?
It's fluffy. And if you look very carefully, you will see that there's lots and lots of little loops. Okay.
You'd have to look with a magnifying glass to see that, though, wouldn't you?
Well, I think if you actually had it in front of you like we do, you
okay.
might be able to see it a little bit better. That is a good example of a single knit because the knits are on the front and the pearls are on the back. A double knit is when the fabric is effectively knitted as two layers. Okay. So what it means is it has two face sides, it has two knit sides, and the pearls are sandwiched in between the two. Okay. So a bit like when we described how velvet is made, you have two layers of fabric that are woven together, and then you're knitted together, and then you cut up the middle to separate them and have a pile. With this, the two layers of jersey aren't cut apart. They're kept together. But what it does is give you a much thicker fabric. So this Scuba here is a really good example of a double knit. So you can see it has these very fine ribs on the front, but then it also has those same ribs on the back. And if you look closely at the edge of the fabric, I don't know if this will focus well enough, but we'll give it a good go. You might be able to see that there are two layers of fabric there, and you can actually see each layer independently when you look at the cut edge. Okay, so that's a good example of a double knit. So the main question is, I think for most sewers, which ones are curly? Yes. Because we've all battled with those curly edges.
It's to do with the weight as well. It's to do with how, for me, it's how heavy it is. So sometimes I want a really light t-shirt jersey, and other times I want something that's much more heavier to wear.
Exactly. So this one is a really good example again of how a single knit will react. You can see how that cut edge is curling over there. Yeah. That's because the knits on this side of the fabric, on the face side of the fabric, they want to contract slightly, and that means that the pearls, which are slightly looser, are rolling around to the side where the tension is the stronger. And that's what happens on a lot of single knits. Now, it happens to varying degrees. Some single knits don't do that quite as much. Yeah. That doesn't happen with double knits because they're much more stable, and because that tension is pushing against each other, so it's keeping the edge nice and stable. So that is why, if you're a beginner sewer, then double knits are a really, really good thing to use. Whereas single knits or single jerseys are lovely to wear and great for lots of purposes, much closer to t-shirts and that sort of thing.
But tricky to sew.
But a little bit trickier to sew. But again, it depends on the composition of the fabric, what it's made from, as to how difficult it is for you. So that's single or double knits.
Okay. So you get, Rachel's just described how the knits are made, but the composition of the knits can also be different. So you can get everything from cotton. So this one that we've been using already is a cotton knit fabric. So that's cotton fibres which have been made on the loom to create the knit fabric. This is a polyester knit. So you can see it's that, look at the stretch in that.
Wow.
But it's got lots and lots of drape, and it's got a slight sheen to it as well because it's got the polyester in it. And then we've got a wool knit here, which you can, the difference in the weights between the two of them is remarkable.
Yeah.
So that you've got the heaviness of the weight, and I think you can tell by the fabric itself that
it's such a lovely quality as well.
It's beautiful. I mean, it feels so soft to the touch, but this would be so warm in comparison with the polyester. Okay, and then the final one is a viscose.
Yeah.
So again, this feels much more like a t-shirt jersey, doesn't it?
It's brilliant for drapey t-shirts when you don't want a boxy t-shirt. Viscose always has lots of drape.
Yes.
And that one just feels lovely.
It's really soft to the touch, and but it's a curly one. It wants to curl at the edges. So you've got a lot of choice. There's also other ones as well. So there's the Scuba is made with neoprene, and you'll get other ones which are combinations of all of them together. So have a look at the label or the description on the website, and it will tell you a lot more.
Absolutely. So you know now whether to look for a single or double knit, and you also know what fibres you should be looking for.
Yes.
Now I think it'd be useful to talk about stretch.
Yes.
Because knit fabrics are naturally stretchy.
Yeah.
So because they are knitted on a loom, and because there are lots of interconnecting loops, that has a lot more give in it than woven fabrics, which is a very tight weave together in a grid formation. So knit fabrics on their own do have a little bit of stretch in them, but most knit fabrics then have elastane added.
Yes.
Now, I just want to clear up, because this confused me for a very long time. Sometimes you see elastane, sometimes you see spandex, sometimes you see lycra.
Yeah.
What's the difference between them?
Yeah.
Nothing. They're all different names for the same elasticated fibre that gets weaved in with the other fibre to make it more stretchy. So in Europe we call it elastane.
Okay.
In America they call it spandex.
And Lycra's a fairly new
Well,
one,
no,
isn't it?
Lycra's a brand. Lycra is a brand of elastane or spandex that was created in the 40s, and it was called Lycra just as a way to sell it, so people knew it came from the DuPont company. That's the name that they came up with. Now, more recently, Lycra has become associated with a particular type of fabric that you would use for dancewear or sportswear, which does have a higher content of elastane in it than most other fabrics, and usually a nylon content as well. But they are all effectively the same thing. So when you're looking at your label,
marketing.
It is.
Because I have bought clothes before that have said, or tights, or that kind of thing, with Lycra.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have bought it if it said with elastane. I would have gone, what's that?
Exactly.
But I know what Lycra
and
is.
I've been guilty for a very long time of always looking for spandex in my jerseys, because I've got some lovely spandex jersey tops that I've made, and they just feel so much nicer.
Yeah.
When actually it didn't make a blind bit of difference. Whether it was cotton or bamboo or viscose, that had much more to do with how it felt than the actual elastic content.
Yes.
So there are different names for it, but it's all the same thing.
It's all the stretchy magic that goes on.
The stretchy magic, yes. But also the other contributing factor is how much is added, how much elastane is added to the garment.
That's very important, isn't it? How much?
It is.
Because 1% or 2%, you normally get 1%. 2% is about the minimum you'll get.
Yeah.
And that won't give you that's like sateen.
2% is usually added to woven fabrics.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anything, what does it go up to? About
Well, Lycra's got about 17%.
Right,
in it.
so that would be the maximum. So that's sportswear.
Yeah.
So you're looking for, and I hope that will give you a rough idea about how much you're looking for when you're looking for the fabrics.
Yeah, if I'm looking for something that is form-fitting, like if I want a form-fitting top like this one, for instance, I would make sure it had at least 5% elastane in it.
Yes.
Because I know that is going to stretch and still be comfortable.
Yeah.
So a Ponte Roma, for instance, has only 3% stretch in it.
Yes.
Now, I wouldn't want to make this fitted top out of a Ponte Roma because I think it might feel a little bit too restrictive.
Yes.
And it might end up a little bit too tight because it's not got enough stretch in it to get around my body comfortably.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of thing to look for. Now, if the stretch content isn't shown, then you can actually work it out with fabrics that you have yourself by just seeing how much it stretches. So I've just got an example here. This is another cotton jersey. But this is 100% cotton. It doesn't have any elastane added. So it's very similar to the teal colour one, except that it still curls on the edge just as much as the other one. It's still got the ribs on the face side and the loops on the reverse. It does feel lovely. But if I take a section of this and give it a little stretch, you can see it barely goes at all.
Shall I do this one?
The other thing you'll notice is that if I really stretch it, it's not recovering very well.
No.
It's not shrinking back to its original size. Whereas this one has 5%, I was going to say spandex because that's how it's advertised on Minerva's website, but we now know that's elastane, lycra, whatever you want to call it. But if you stretch that one, you can see you get lots more. But it's bouncing back a lot better.
It's actually bouncing back as well. You can feel it kind of coming back against your hands when it gets to its maximum point.
So these are effectively the same product, except for this one is 100% cotton, and this one is 95% cotton and 5% elastane. And that's the only difference between them. This one is going to be quite tight and possibly come up quite small in what you make, whereas this one is going to be much looser and much more comfortable to wear.
Exactly.
So now we've explained those basics, so you know a little bit about what to look for in your knit fabrics. We'll actually talk about some of these lovely knit fabrics that we have here. So as we said, this one is 100% cotton. It's a single jersey. It's very thin. It's perfect for lightweight tops and t-shirts, but it doesn't have a lot of stretch. Your pattern will often tell you how much stretch your knit fabric should have. So you want to make sure that you have actually got a decent percentage of stretch in there. Just to clarify, 5% stretch in the composition of the fabric doesn't mean that your garment stretches 5%.
No.
So if we take this example again, often a good way to do it is to grab a section that's 10 centimetres, measure it on your ruler at 10 centimetres, and then stretch it and see how wide you can stretch it. So you can see that doubles in size when I stretch it. The recovery on this is a little bit slower, so it will go back to its original size. It's just taking a little bit of time, but that's because I really stretched it.
Yeah, stretched
but if you're not sure what the percentage of stretch is, do that as a little test so that you can work it out.
Yes.
So this is the single knit cotton with the spandex added.
Yes.
And then this was the viscose, wasn't it?
That was the
You
viscose.
hold that up and I will check the content of that one.
I'll show you the stretchiness as well.
That one's got 6%. Wow, you can see it's even more than the green.
But you can see how sheer that is as well, so that's quite thin, and it is curling on the edges. So.
The main difference between these two is that viscose is naturally very, very drapey, which is why it would be lovely for camisoles or tops, waterfall tops, cow neck tops, things that you need more drape. But also, it just feels
yoga pants.
Lovely, doesn't it? It feels really lovely. It's quite difficult to sew with. It's very fluid, but it feels very lovely.
Yes, we always say in class, the things that are the most difficult to sew are often the ones that are most worthwhile. So,
that's right.
You know, it will feel lovely. So that was
that your one. Green polyester one.
Yes.
Let me find.
I will hold that up and stretch
that
it.
That one is the John Caldor one. That has 5% spandex.
Oh, that's bouncy.
It is bouncy.
You can tell that that's a higher quality fabric because it's bouncing back against my hand.
Yes.
And it's recovering very well.
Yes. Oh, we've not done any prices.
Ooh.
This one, because it's a designer fabric, is $10.99 a metre. The red viscose is $7.99 a metre. The teal cotton spandex, they call it cotton spandex, but it's the cotton with the elastane added. If I can find that one. Oh, where's it gone? There we go. That's $11.99 a metre. It's a premium cotton jersey.
That's gorgeous, though.
And then this plain one, which has no...
that's just cotton?
That's $7.99 a metre. So that's a basic cotton one.
Did we do the green?
We did, yes. Then we've got the wool jersey.
Yes.
That one here.
Oh, I love this.
And this one is... That one is... £20 a metre, $19.99 a metre.
That's beautiful.
So it's 20% wool, 70% viscose, and it has 8% elastane.
But you're getting, the reason why that's more expensive is the wool.
Yes.
So the wool fibres are more expensive, and you can tell the quality of it because it is so soft. It's gorgeous.
I'm definitely buying some of that. So sticking in the single knits category for now, we've got a couple of others here to show you. So we're still unpacking these. So this is something I've not seen outside of Minerva's website. This is called Diablo Jersey. And
we had to get it because we'd never heard of it.
It's so slinky. It's so slinky. It feels so lovely, and I just think that would sew up absolutely beautiful. And it is so cheap. Let me see if I can find the price for $3.99 a metre. It's actually reduced from $6.99 a metre, but I think that would be lovely for sort of more evening-y tops and things.
Disco pants.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With lovely makeup, lovely 70s style dresses as well.
Yes,
what
absolutely.
I would use it for.
Ogden camis as well. So the next one up is some Lycra. So this is what you would have your gym gear out of if you're mad enough to go to the gym. So this, look at that. It's off the screen. It's off the screen. So this would have about 17%. You can probably look it up and tell us exactly
17% elastane and 83% nylon. So the nylon makes it more water resistant and more durable.
That's why it comes out dry out of the washing machine. But it's got as much stretch going that way as it has going that way.
Yes, it's what's called a four-way stretch, which means that it stretches in all directions.
But it's lovely and shiny, and it's slightly less shiny on the other side, but you can choose whichever side you want to use because it's actually the same.
Yes.
And how much is that one?
That one is $11.99 a metre.
Lovely, but you wouldn't need much of it. This is the thing about Lycra and sportswear. You don't need a lot because everything is so form-fitting.
Yes. So now we're moving into double knits. So this is another John Caldor, and it's a viscose jersey, but it's a double knit. So usually viscose jerseys are very slinky, whereas this one is obviously much stronger. And if I hold it there, you can see that double layer, and it's much thicker. It's not curling. It feels lovely, and it's got so much stretch. It's nearly got as much stretch as the Lycra. Yeah.
So tell us the composition of that.
That is 70% viscose, 22% nylon, and 8% elastane. So 8% is what makes it quite so stretchy.
Is the nylon giving it any extra stretch as well?
It's giving, yes, because nylon is naturally stretchy, so that will be giving it a bit of extra stretch, but also making it a little bit more durable, and means it goes that way too.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. How much is that?
That one is $13.99 a metre.
Oh, can I just look in here?
I know. I know. So this one here is a Ponte Roma. This is a very lightweight Ponte Roma. Ponte comes in lots of different weights, and that's something I've made the mistake of before. I thought Ponte was all the same stuff, and then made myself a very, very warm top. So it's not. You can get lightweight, medium, and heavy. This is a lightweight one. Ponte usually has very little stretch, so there's only 3% stretch in that. This one, even though Ponte is classed as a double knit, this one, the reverse has a different design, and even though it is 2 layers, rather than them having the knit stitches on both sides, on the outsides, they've got 2 layers on top of each other. So what that means is you've got 2 layers of knits on this side and 2 layers of pearls on that side, and that's what's causing it to still curl at the edges like that. But it is a lovely quality, very soft Ponte to work with. So that would be nice for heavier t-shirts, lighter weight sweatshirts, and just dresses and that sort of thing.
It would be really nice for like kids t-shirts and things like that as well, because it's so soft.
Yes,
it's gorgeous.
That's right. And this one's $14.99 a metre, but it is a lovely quality one. It's 50% cotton and 50% polyester. In fact, that can't be accurate because there's definitely a little bit of elastane in there. So I'd imagine there's probably 3% usually for Ponte, so there's about 3% in there. That's lovely. Right, so the next double knit you've already shown.
Yes,
that's
this is
Scuba.
the Scuba. So this is the lightweight Scuba.
That is,
and we love a bit of Scuba. We've done at least 2 videos in our previous history all about what you can make really quickly with Scuba. It doesn't fray on the edges. It's and neoprene is what you think it is. It's Scuba fabric made for wetsuits and things like that. But they're just doing it. This is a fashion version because it's lighter. Obviously, you wouldn't want to go scuba diving in this, but we love it, and it's fabulous stuff. But you can see Rachel's got
this is actually neoprene. So this is neoprene. It's much thicker.
You can see
it
the
does
double
have
knit
quite a
in
lot
that.
of stretch in it.
So you can see the double layer there. Can you?
Yeah, I can see that a lot clearer. Often neoprenes have a little almost like a foam core.
Yes.
Makes them very, very spongy. But this is the sort of weight that you would make a wetsuit out of. It's very thick, but it would also make some really interesting garments. I mean, look at that fold.
My red dress was out of that.
If you need lots of volume, then it's a great one for that.
Yes, lovely. It's fabulous.
So next up, we're going to talk to you about ribbing. Ribbing is often used for bands and cuffs, and you can see that on this one the ridges are really quite thick, and that is because, again, a bit like when you're knitting, if you did a knit one purl one stitch, then what you would end up with is half of your ribs on one side and half of your ribs on the other, and the same with your pearls, and that creates this ribbing effect that's on both layers. Ribbing naturally has a lot of stretch just because of the way that it has been knitted, and that is why it's used for neck bands and cuffs and things that need a lot of recovery. Sometimes elastane is added to that as well, just to make the recovery spring back a bit quicker, but this one is 100% cotton ribbing, so that stretch is all coming from the way the fabric has been knitted. This one is also tubular, so you can see like it's a big circle, and that's just because it's been knitted on a circular loom, so it just comes off, just like if you were knitting on circular needles at home.
Excellent.
So that is a ribbing.
How much is that?
That ribbing is $4.99 a metre.
Excellent. So I'm going to do sweatshirting next, which is, if you follow me on Instagram, you will know is one of my favourite subjects, because I love sweatshirting, and these ones are absolutely gorgeous. So this one is a looped back sweatshirting. So you can see there, you've got all of these little loops on the back of the sweatshirting. So it's lovely and soft on the top, but there's loops on the back. So this is more of a medium to lightweight. It still has a little bit of stretch, but be careful with your sweatshirting. It doesn't always have stretch, and it will only go in one way. It's not really stretching that way, it's only stretching that way.
And that's such a small amount of stretch that I think that that's just the natural stretch from the knit. I don't think there's any elastane added to that one.
So this is another sweatshirting. I'm just going to show you the lovely rhinos. Look at them. I love a novelty print on a sweatshirting. There's nothing that makes me happier.
She does. Bears, stars.
Stars, all sorts of stuff. I love it. So this one you can see is brushed back. And if I take it in really closely, you might be able to see that you can see where the loops were on the back of this one. And all that's happened is it's been brushed just like with the brushed cotton or with a flannel. So that's giving you that softness in the inside. Now, both of these are fairly medium to lightweight sweatshirting. Be aware that you can get much heavier sweatshirting, so it can come as quite thick stuff, so just be very careful when you buy it, depending upon when you want to wear it. If it's deepest winter, go for the heavy stuff.
Yeah, the thicker stuff tends to be actually knitted from fleece yarns, so that's why the inside of it. So this is very soft where the loops have been brushed, but some of it is really soft and fleecy.
Yes.
And so fleeced back sweatshirting is actually made from fleece yarns and is woven slightly differently.
Yeah.
But it still has this traditional marl sweatshirting appearance on the front, but then it's very fluffy and soft on the back.
This one is, we said it was $14.99.
That one's $14.99 a metre.
It's still available from Minerva. This one, they haven't got on the website at the moment, but they may have replaced it with another slightly different composition version.
Yeah.
So have a look and see what they've got. Also, just to point out that loop back is sometimes called French terry.
Yes.
Now, there's no difference between looped back and French terry. They're just the same, different names for the same thing.
Yeah.
So if you see a sweatshirting that's described as French terry, it's the same.
Yeah, French terry is pretty much the same as toweling, terry toweling. So the loop back texture on here is very simple very similar to the towels that you use for the bath and stuff.
It's got all these fibres in front of our faces
everywhere.
flying. Right, what's next?
So now I'm going to talk to you about sweater knits. Whilst we're on sweatshirts, we might as well go on to sweater knits. So sweater knits are usually knitted from an acrylic fabric, and sometimes they have elastane added, and sometimes it's just the very loose weave that makes them stretch, so they don't have any elastane added. So I've got two examples here. This one is a purple boucle. Now this is the exact same fabric that I used when we made our Oslo cardigans.
Yes.
So we'll insert a little link to the video there so you can see this one actually made up. And so what it is if you look on the back, you've got that pearl on the back, so it's a much more matte surface on the back there, but on the front you've got these raised loops. And if you've watched the wool video when we talked about boucle coatings, we talked about the size of the loops and how that creates more textures, and this is a good example of one with a slightly more raised texture, which means that those loops are longer, but perfect for making cardigans. Now you'll notice this one doesn't have much stretch in it at all. I don't think this has any elastane in it. I think that is just the stretch of the fabric. Let me confirm that for you. Boucle. No, it's 85% acrylic, it's got 10% polyester and 5% wool. So no elastane in that, that's just the natural stretch, which is why it's not doing a huge amount. Where that might be a bit tricky is if you're making a cardi or something where you need to add bands and the bands need to stretch. If you're doing the cuffs out of the same fabric, they might not stretch enough for the pattern piece size, so you might need to cut a slightly longer band. This one here, this is what we call a sweater knit. So Minerva call it an Angora look stretch jersey. But you can see why I've classified it as a sweater knit, because it does look just like something that you've knitted, doesn't it? It looks like something that's just been knitted with needles. Again, it's knits on the front and it's pearls on the back. So you've got those horizontal loops on the back, and then you've got your vertical ridges on the front. You can see it's quite curly, but it does have an awful lot of stretch in it, and it doesn't have any Angora content on it. That's why it's called Angora look. That's just Maisie barking at the kids there. We've been filming all day and the kids are now home from school, so apologies if it gets a bit noisy in this last little bit. So it's very soft, and it does have that lovely hand that feels like it's made of a natural fibre, but it isn't a natural fibre. It's 62% acrylic, it's got 20% nylon and 18% polyester, so it doesn't actually have any elastane in it. All that stretch is coming from both the knit and the nylon. The nylon will be very stretchy.
And how much is that?
And that one is $9.99 a metre.
I like that.
But it feels so much more expensive than it is, doesn't it? It just feels lovely. It would just be beautiful for jumpers on the skin, and sweatshirts and things. Yes, very nice.
Lovely. This is all we're all in jumper territory, which is all good. I love all of this.
So we're going to move on to textured jerseys now, because this is where it gets a bit interesting. You can play around with the weave to create different textures with the knit on the loom to create different textures. Actually, let's start with your one here, because I think this one is a good example of just a simple textured jersey.
It's a bit like, it reminds me of Dobby. Or Swiss dot.
Yes.
When we went all the way back to the cotton, because it's got these raised little dots on it. And I'll just give you a little. It's got a little bit of stretch. It's not got an awful lot. There's more that way, but there's only a little bit. But it is an interesting texture. You can see it more if I sort of hold it up like that. And let's hold it up for a drape test. So it's not too bad. I think it's got a bit more structure. Obviously, the indentations are giving it a lot more structure, so it is a bit more solid.
I think this one is lovely. I think it would make beautiful sweatshirts. This one is
got so much volume
what's called a waffle jersey. You can see why, but the texture of it. And often that's referred to a texture that's uniform across the fabric. So on a cotton, that might be called a piqué. And piqué is basically a waffle texture that's woven into the fabric. But this is a knit version, so often called a waffle jersey. And you can see why. This is also a perfect example of how usually fabrics, the stretch content is actually in the width, across the width of the fabric. So that's the way up that you would stitch it. But on this one, it's a lengthwise stretch. So you need to be careful of that, because if this had a print and laying it that way made the print sideways, then it wouldn't be the best jersey to use for that project. Yeah,
you have to choose which project you use it on. And here's another one. So this is another heavily textured jersey, which is a very interesting print.
It's called a Crinkle Jersey.
So I'm going to make your eyes go all googly by bringing it in close so you can see. And it's got, you can see it's got stretch that way. I would imagine it's got a lot of stretch going that way
that's
as well.
Another widthwise stretch.
I quite like it on the back.
Or lengthwise stretch. Yeah, I prefer the back on that one.
Look. It's that little...
It's more
Pearls.
geometric, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
I love a geometric print.
Yeah.
So you could, that would be interesting to wear it that way around. With the crinkle against your skin, it would be quite fun. But you could have a bit of a play around with the double-sided if you had a little bit of an exposed seam or something like that. You can have a little bit of fun with it.
So crinkle jerseys are often made by applying a lot of heat. So if you've ever ironed a synthetic fabric, you know what happens if you put too much heat on, and it kind of shrinks up. So what they do is they apply an awful lot of heat to it as it's being woven or knitted, and that creates this lovely wrinkly texture.
It's bouncing back really well. It must have a good amount of
very nice, but again, needs to be cut lengthwise.
Yes.
So I've got a couple of others. So yes, let me tell you. So the waffle one, I've already done that one. Have I told you the prices?
I think we've done. Let's do it again.
The waffle one is called Textured Squares on Minerva's website, and it's $4.99 a metre.
Bargain.
And then this crinkle one is $6.99 a metre.
Lovely.
So really, really reasonable fabrics.
And they're both 60 inches, are they?
They're both 60 inches.
56
one's
and
56
60.
and 60, yeah,
Nice.
but around that sort of price.
Yeah.
So the next two textured jerseys that I have to show you, and these are our last two fabrics. So this is an interesting one. This one, as you can see, on the front has this quilted effect. And on the back has stripes.
And the quilt. You can still see the quilting squares on it, but I love the stripes.
And you might wonder, how is that done? And actually, it's two different layers of fabric. If I show you the edge there, you can see it's actually two layers of single jersey. Can you see the way it's curling up between these little quilted pieces?
Yes.
That's the single jersey curling away at the edges. So you've got a stripy single jersey on the back, and then you've got the spot on the back there is just making its way through to the front. That's what's giving it that sort of waffle quilted effect.
Yeah.
But in the middle, it has this black fibrous stuff there. I don't even know what that is, but it definitely would give it extra warmth.
Yes.
It's another one that actually no, this one doesn't have very much stretch at all.
Yeah.
But
it's more like a sweatshirting.
It's definitely more of a sweatshirting.
Yeah.
But I think it would look lovely on that side in a nice little Astoria or Linden or something like that.
You could play around with it. You could have the bodice in one pattern, and you could have the sleeves in another pattern. That would be really good fun.
Yeah.
And I think it's so warm. It feels so lovely. How much is that one?
I'm just trying to find it here. That's the rhino print.
To find.
Grid pattern. Here we go.
That's the one.
This is so the reason this one doesn't have a lot of stretch is because it doesn't have any elastane. It's just 50% cotton and 50% polyester. It's $14.99 a metre. Be great for sweatshirts, like we said.
Lovely.
And I think it's it's very, very nice.
Very
nice textured jersey. And then the last one that I've got to show you is a really interesting one. So this is a textured jersey, but as you can see, it has this mesh in between the layers of jersey. And actually, if you look very closely at it, it has been, the stripes are like braided elastic. They're like strips of braided elastic. So elastic is knitted too. So this is created in the same way that an elastic would be. And then it has this mesh connected to it. So this would be really interesting for when you wanted to create some sort of layered look. So you could put a little vest top underneath, something like this. And I think it's just really interesting, isn't it? Really, really interesting. Honestly, it's the first time I've seen something like this. It wasn't on our list. Minerva just thought we would find it interesting, which we definitely do.
Yes.
But I don't know any more about how it's made. I just think it'd be really fun to play with.
It's
what
a good
I can tell you,
modern technologies coming into to fabric making, so that it makes them much more interesting, and it's very exciting.
It is, yes. I was just trying to see. Yeah, textured sheer striped jersey. It's $3.99 a metre, so it's an absolute bargain, and it's 63 inches wide, and it's just 100% polyester, but with a little bit of elastane added. So
Excellent.
That is what gives it its little bit of stretch.
You could have a lot of fun with it. I can imagine a skirt, like quite a big box pleat skirt, but with like an underskirt underneath. That would be really nice. That would be fun.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of seeing an oversized shift cropped, but with a like very skinny little camisole type dress underneath it. So
nice.
Very different looks.
Yes.
So that's all of the jerseys we wanted to show you. Now we know this has been a really, really long one, but I think that if you are interested in sewing with knits, if knits are your thing and you don't really know much about them, then I hope it's been a good use of your time, that you found a comprehensive overview of all of the different knits available. This is just a fraction of what you can buy on Minerva's website. Just their knit section alone is enormous. You will find so many other kinds, but we think these are the main ones, and hopefully we've given you some pointers about what to look for and how to identify the knits in your own stash and how to look for knits for specific projects depending on how you want it to feel, how you want it to drape, how easily you want it to sew, how heavy or warm you want it to be. If you've got any questions at all, please do comment below, and we hope you found this whole series of videos useful.
Yes,
we found it really interesting filming them.
It has been really interesting, and Rachel loves all these things because she has this brain that kind of soaks in all of this information. So over the last couple of weeks, she's been giving me all these little teasers, and it's been fantastic going
telling
through it
her
all.
Interesting bits of information.
Yes, you know?
Did you know that Georgette is named after Georgette de la Plante, who was a 1900s dressmaker in France?
No, I didn't.
She does now.
But thanks to Minerva again for backing us on this and deciding, not bulking at the list of 70 fabrics that we sent them and deciding to send us small bits of everything. It's been fascinating to go through it.
Yes.
So it's been something that's really been worthwhile, and we hope it's been worthwhile for you too.
We'll see you soon, guys. Bye.